So what is the most significant thing you need to know when driving a car in any city, in this case in London? Well, the most important thing you need to know is don't get these parking tickets. Look how many I've got, by the way. I don't know why I keep them. It's just a little reminder to say, remember to pay your parking. But actually the real reason for this video is I just wanted to show you what it's like with my little Honda Civic. So I'm in the west of London at the moment. Let's get the windows up and get the noise down a little bit. Put the air conditioning on. It's quite a warm day today. And I'm gonna go for a little drive. I've just finished a day's work and I'm on the commute home. I'm gonna get away before the traffic builds up. Now I've got two cameras on this car. One is my little Garmin dash cam, which is on the windscreen. Oh, thank you. I've just seen that there. And the other one is my ATOTO dedicated high definition dash cam. What's particularly nice about the ATOTO dash cam is that it comes up on my screen on my ATOTO X10 stereo, and it really is something lovely. So fortunately, I'm way before the sort of rush hour kicks in. I'm driving this little Honda Civic, which I bought for £1,000. Oh, there's the police, where they are. It's been a cracking little commuter car. I purely bought it for, I work in engineering, and I bought it for doing the commute between where I'm staying, which is not my normal home abode, and where I work. And it just saves having to use my lovely Mercedes SL, which I don't want to get ruined in and around the narrow streets of the west of London. But it's a manual, and the reason I bought this manual was because I thought I'm going to give it to my lovely son. He's learning to drive. In the UK, we generally drive what in the States you call stick. It's actually a gear shift, I think you'll find. But yeah, this is a 6-speed manual. Yes, if I had a choice, I would probably buy an automatic. Mostly all the cars I've ever bought have been automatics. But this is the first Honda that I've ever owned. First Japanese car that I've ever owned. And boy, I tell you what, these cars are indestructible. They really are. They're great little cars. I'll take a little shortcut here. Try and cut out some traffic. Despite it being, yes, only £1,000, I still think you get a fair amount of car for your money. We have this thing called the ULEZ, Ultra Low Emission Zone. And it started off in one small part of London and has expanded right the way out to what we call the ring road, which is the M25. It was originally on the inner ring road and it's now on the outer ring road. Nice Mercedes there. Yeah, this little car is great for nipping in and out of spaces, for parking. And I did a video very, very quickly. I actually did it off my phone just to show that you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can get yourself a nice, reliable little Honda Civic. And I haven't had to do anything to this car apart from put some tires on it. It's really just been a little commuter car, which I actually bought very quickly, tidied it up a bit. I did have to replace the rear bumper just because there was a crack on it when I bought it, and I knew I could bargain the guy down. So I put a new bumper on, it cost me £50, and I actually put a whole new tailgate, simply because where he had reversed into a lamppost, that was a little bit marked, but it was still functional. And I've been driving this for the best part of 4 years. Great car. But it was really just to show you how this little Honda Civic is an update, really. Try and get this across this junction. And it's been great. Somebody let me through. I'm going to jump out here. Thank you. Push my way through. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That little beep, by the way, is my Garmin dash cam. And it gives me a little audible warning to tell me that cars are moving in case you're sitting in traffic and you're not paying attention. It also tells me where all the speed cameras are, which is totally legal, and it makes sure that you are doing the right speed. It is a cheap car, but it doesn't mean it's a bad car. It's small and compact enough to nip in and out of traffic. It's got the VTEC engine, not the full-blown R-Type, but it's got the VTEC engine, so it's economical as well as pretty punchy. And it's got 6 gears. So actually, when I finally get above 20 miles an hour, it actually is quite economical as well. Snip in here, oop, little sneaky bit there. Roundabouts, this is called Hanger Lane. For those of you who live in and around London, you'll know it's infamous. It's at one point a 5-lane roundabout, and just people have no idea how to take it. They don't stick in the lanes. You can see that guy in the white van just drifted across the lane there because he's not paying attention to the actual white lines and he should be staying within it. Anyway, it is what it is. There's no point getting hung up on it. The things I particularly like about this little Honda Civic, it's got air conditioning, it's got this lovely twin blind, which you can open and close automatically. It's got fold-away mirrors. I know that doesn't sound much in these days with everything being touchscreen and all the rest, but I still think it's great. And it's got these lovely velour seats, which when the weather's getting a bit cooler, compared to your leather, it's actually really, really nice. It's one of the only cars also that I've ever driven that has a control for the passenger side on the heating on the door for some reason, and you can control the temperature up and down too. It's got the biggest glove box I've ever seen, which is handy for keeping all my parking tickets in it. And it also has a start-stop button as well, which is only something that kind of came about maybe in the later years, and this is a 2009. And when this came out at the Geneva Motor Show, I remember TopGear were reviewing it, and I think it was James May, and he was saying that it was one of the most futuristic cars that Honda has ever produced in many years.
This is something different.
Before this car came out, Honda were kind of synonymous, you know, with the likes of sort of OAPs, that's old age pensioner type cars, where they were safe and reliable, but they weren't very cool to look at. This thing came out, which was the Honda Civic MK8, or the FN2, with its split dash. The headlight looked like it was one great big long bulb, one clear lens, likewise at the back. And the irony is, in 2025, that's actually starting to look a bit dated. I decided to change the front middle clear part of my light. I got one of the Type R grills and it just fitted straight on. For the back, that's actually just a piece of vinyl. And the reason I did that was because the back middle was looking a little bit tired and there was a little bit of a crack in it. It just took away the look. So somebody was selling a purpose-fit piece of vinyl. The car just so happens to be black, Mr. Gear there, and it just changes the whole look of the car. So many people have commented on it, but it really makes it look a lot newer. But back in the day, 2009, the way that this car looked when it came out of the showroom was pretty futuristic, it really was. Things that I would say that aren't quite as good. I would say the ride quality, got 18-inch alloys on this, and these alloys are actually, I've had them on two different cars. I converted them for an Audi A4 B6 Cabriolet. I also had them on Mercedes CLK, the W208 chassis. And then I changed the spigot, that's the internal diameter of the hub, to then fit onto this Honda. And they fitted perfectly, they look really good. But the car originally came with 16s. Then you're gonna have more tyre on the wall, and that little extra bit of cushion, to be honest with you, did make a difference. But for everyday driving, and I'm driving in and around London, I'm start, stop, it doesn't really make that much difference. You just have to watch out for potholes, because when you hit them, boy, do you hit them. Another thing which is incredible is just how those rear seats actually give you space in the back. They do this clever thing where the bases actually fold up as well, and you can actually stand a bike up in the back there. It's a really clever design. It's a huge amount of space. So if you want a car that you want to move stuff around, but you don't want to buy a van and you want a compliant ULEZ vehicle, I'd recommend one of these as well. Sounds like I'm working for Honda. I'm not, I'm just giving you my honest opinion that they are really good little cars. So one of the other things I wanted to show you is that on this X10 stereo by ATOTO, there's a full install, there's a link below for you. It's amazing stereo. It's totally transformed the drive experience of this little Honda, because I didn't have any connectivity before, and it's now given me the ability to be able to have the Bluetooth streaming, your maps, your Android, Carplay, or your Apple if you have one of the lesser phones out there. But one of the nice things about it, that it also has ability to download pretty much whatever apps you want. And on my phone, I use an app called Talk, and it gives me real-time live information on things like your car revs, your coolant temperatures, your vacuum pressure, etc. And I'm going to show you what that looks like because it will come up on the screen. So in my glove box, I always keep this. This here is my little OBD scanner. It's the first scanner I ever bought. I bought it 10 years ago, and it allows the car to be able to tell you what basic faults that you have, and you can clear codes with it. It's nothing like the diagnostic tools that I reviewed on the channel before, but it's still, for what it costs and for how long it's lasted, it's still a nice little device just to carry around. It's so neat and small. So now that I got that back, go on then, on you go, get in front of me. See, he's giving me a little flash. I don't know if you do that in the States, so he's saying thank you. One of the other things you need to be really aware of, and that's why my little Garmin is flashing away at me, is you've got to be careful with speeds. It's not so much driving in and around the traffic in London. It's whether you're going to go in a bus lane or whether you're going to go in an average speed limit. And just right there, that there is a red light camera. So if I was to get caught, the lines that you just saw in the road there, it would gauge how far I'd gone once I'd gone through that red light, if I'd gone through, which I didn't, and then I'd get a ticket. In the UK, we have a point system, and I would have got 3 points for that probably, of which you only get 12. So you can see straight away that it's very easy to rack up a dozen points. And after 12 points, you are banned. You cannot drive anymore. You've got to wait for those points to clear. And that could be anything up to a year plus. Or using your mobile phone, you cannot do that. Again, you'll get points, maybe up to 6 points. Speeding fines, you can lose your license like that. If you do over 100 miles an hour, you'll get an instant ban, for example. Not that I know about that. Okay, so I've just pulled over and I'm going to show you this lovely little Talk screen. Talk is a piece of software, I've been using it for years, and you can get it on your mobile phone and you connect it using that little Bluetooth adapter. It's called CBT, and it allows you to then take the data from the car via that little Bluetooth adapter, and it now puts it on the screen. Or beforehand, I used to use it on my mobile phone. You simply pair it and then have a look at what it then provides. So from the main screen, it's installed and it looks like this little symbol here. I've already paired the Bluetooth module, and it says at the top there that all these are now connected. And if I press the real-time information, you can see that I'm sitting at idle. And if I put my foot on the revs, there you go. I've got my revs going up. I've got my speed, which is 0 because I'm stationary. My coolant temperature, which is 90 degrees, which is sitting bang on as it should do. It gives me a vacuum, it gives me a throttle, and it also gives me acceleration, and that's down to when you accelerate. It also gives you other items where you can just customize the screen. You can do a 0 to 60 time or a quarter mile time. And as well as that information, it actually also tells you any misfires, any fuel system components. It's giving me a catalyst, it's saying it's completed, O2 sensors, EGR system, and that's all inbuilt within the Talk software. So what I'll do now is I'll go for a quick drive and you can see just how those dials behave as you're driving along. So you can see my speed here is giving me real-time speed. I've got my revs, gives me throttle, vacuum, and acceleration is when you put your foot on the throttle and you get that G-force. And now we're back stuck in traffic again. So you could see for that brief moment in time there, when I got to get above 60 miles an hour, how that torque there gives you that live information. It's a really nice little touch that comes with the ATOTO X10 stereo. So there you go. There is a brief overview of driving the little Honda Civic in and around the west of London. We're on the outskirts, not in the city. I've had this now for about 4 years. I've got all trust and faith in this car. It hasn't let me down. It's been an absolute bargain for £1,000, and I haven't got a bad thing to say about it, really. When I look around at all the cars on the road, the stats are that 91% of all cars on British roads are either leased or on some sort of finance. I bought this car outright. I don't have any monthly deposits to pay. I don't have any loans to pay. And you know what? I haven't got any car to fix. It's just looked after itself. So maybe I've been a little bit lucky and I shouldn't sort of chance fate. But if you do your homework and you look at the car, what I always do are these 3 main things when I'm ever buying a car. First of all, I always speak to the person and phone up to get an idea. Is he a dealer? Is he genuinely selling it? Is it a private sale? And I generally always try and go for private sales and try and build a rapport with the person on the phone. The second thing I do, if it is a private sale, and this sounds a little bit snobby, but I have a little look on Google Maps at where the car is. Sometimes you can actually see the car parked on the person's drive, get an idea of where it is. And if it's a nice neighborhood, and I'm not being funny about this, that usually actually is a good sign. The next thing I do is I always do a full check on the car. If I really want the car, I'll make sure that things like there's no outstanding finance, the car hasn't been in any accidents. I've bought a car before, and in the UK, we have categories. And categories for the insurance means that it shows the severity of what sort of accident or what sort of insurance claim is against that car. you get something called Cat N. And N is like negligible. It might be that the car has got to a certain age, and if there's been, for example, that bang on the back where it was basically cosmetic, it's going to cost more than the cost of the car to put right. So the insurance company have then classed it as a category N. In other words, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just going to cost more to repair than the cost of the current market value of the vehicle. If you've got a category S, the category S, that stands for structural. I'd stay well away from that. That means that the car has had a severe impact, and it means that it actually could have something wrong with the chassis, and you're going to get into problems later on. And that's usually why the car is at a cheap price, because somebody who hasn't done their homework is going to buy a car, in the UK as we call it, written off. And you'll have a lot of trouble trying to sell that onwards if you ever do. The next thing I do is, these days you can find all the information about the car, and I go on and have a look at what you call the MOT, which stands for Ministry of Transport in the UK, and it's an annual check where our cars have to go through a scrutiny check at a designated garage. They'll check all of the car over. They'll check for things like your tyre wear, your emissions, making sure that there's nothing dangerous on the car, or your lights are working, making sure that basically the car is in good health for the road. And I guess the last thing that I tend to do is, if I'm buying, for example, this Honda Civic, use the internet to your advantage and just go and find out what are the common areas of the cars that to look for when you go and look at it. Is there any warning lights on the dashboard? And sometimes I'll take my little diagnostic tool and I'll plug it in. But you can do all your homework first. So if you're really happy about it, go and buy the car. Don't get too hung up about it. So there you go. There's a little bit of a different video, a bit more ad hoc for you. I just thought I'd give you a quick overview of my Honda Civic after owning it for 4 years, commuting backwards and forwards on the outskirts of London. My name's Groove On. I've got a whole load of playlists at the end, and I'll see you on YouTube. Bye for now.